In this video, I'm going through the grade 9 maths and it's test 1. The first question says to simplify, and you've got e to the power of 9 divided by e to the power of 5, and when we are dividing, we subtract the powers, so 9 minus 5 is 4, and your final answer is e to the power of 4. And then part B again wants you to simplify, and you've got two powers, one inside and one outside the brackets, and for those powers we multiply the powers, and so your final answer is e to the power of 16. And then this says simplify, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. E is being multiplied by itself 5 times, so this is e to the power of 5. And this says again simplify. I've got 5 times 4. I am multiplying, not adding. So 4 times 5 is 20. And then c times d. And c times d is simply cd, so it's 20 cd. And if you write dc, that's not a problem either. Question 2 says the table shows the lowest temperature for the month in each of 6 months for Winnipeg in Canada. Which of these 6 months has the lowest temperature? The lowest is the coldest, and the coldest is negative 18. Work out the difference. Remember, the word difference means that you're going to minus, you're going to subtract, but you're always going to choose the positive answer. The difference between the lowest temperature in August and the lowest temperature in November. So they want you to find the difference between August and November. Now, this is what you're actually doing. You're basically saying this is 0, this is 12, this is negative 9. The difference is that distance, is how to get from negative 9 to 12. So from negative 9 to 0 is 9. From 0 to 12 is 12. And you're basically adding 9 plus 12. And that's what you're finding. So 9 plus 12 is 21. The difference is 21. Now, if you were doing a subtraction, you would either do negative 9 minus 12, and it will give you negative 21, and you still need to write a positive 21 here, or you would go 12 minus negative 9, and that will give you a positive 21, because the negative and the negative in this situation gives you a plus. So these are 3 different ways that you can think of to work out this question. The lowest temperature in March was 23 degrees, lower than the lowest temperature in August. So August, again, is 12. And lower means I'm going that way on the number line. So I'm subtracting again, was lowest, or was, was 23 degrees lower. So minus 23 degrees. And again, you would get your calculator and you do 12 minus 23 and you get negative 11. This time you're not working out the difference, you're literally working out the temperature. And so you leave it as negative 11. Question 3 also is about simplifying. And the trick is to understand what this equals. anything to the power of 0 equals 1. So this means this is 8 times 1, which is 8. So anything to the power of 0 gives you 1. And part B says x to the power of 6 divided by x to the power of negative 5 equals x to the power of p. Find the value of p. Again, when we are dividing, we minus the powers. We subtract. So it's 6 minus 5. And again, you can put that onto your calculator and it will give you 11. And the answer is 11, not p to the power of 11. They want to know what p is, and p is the power. And this says simplify fully. And just a reminder that I am going to split everything inside the bracket is a separate thing. So the 2, the k squared, and the m to the power of 4, and everything is going to be raised to the power of 3. So you've got 2 cubed, k squared, all cubed, m to the power of 4, all cubed. And 2 cubed is not 2 times 3. It's 2 to the power of 3, which is 8. And then with these powers, we multiply. So 2 times 3 is 6, and this is k to the power of 6. And again, with these two powers, we multiply. So this is m to the power of 12. Now, write 23 out of 100 as a decimal. A lot of these questions you can do as on a calculator. 23 out of 100 equals, and then the SD button, 0.23. Write 0.7 as a percentage. You would need to multiply by 100 to write a number as a percentage. 0.7 times 100 is 70%, and they've put the percent sign for you. 1/5 as a decimal, again, 1 divided by 5, 1/5, 0.2. And then it says shade 75% of this diagram. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Of means multiply. 75% times 8. And you would get your calculator and you would do 75. And here's my percent button. So because it's in yellow, I do Shift SD 75% times 8. And it tells you 6. So out of these 8, you need to shade in 6. And then it says 21% of the people on a train are asleep. What percentage of people on the train are not asleep? Well, 100% is everybody on the train, minus 21%. And again, you very simply put that into your calculator, and you don't even need the percent, to be honest, because they've given you the sign. So it's simply 100 minus 21, which is 79%. And then question 5 says, write in figures the number 14,026. So imagine 14,000. That's 14,000. Not 14 and 2 zeros, because that would be 1,400. This is 14,000. But you want 14,026, and 26 has to be the last 2 digits. So that's how we write 14,026. Write the number 6,539 correct to the nearest 100. 100 means I'm interested in the last 3 digits. This is 539, it's closer to 500 than 600. If it was 550 or more, it will be closer to 600. So this is 6,500. Write down the value of the number 2 in the number 12,430. So the 2, let's look. This is a unit. This is a 10. This is 100. And this is 1,000. So you can write, and you get the mark if you write 1,000. If you write it in word, 1,000. Or even if you write, well, this is a 2,000. So any of these would get you your 1 mark. Then it says write a number on the dotted line so that the calculation is correct. This is a plus. So I want to find out the difference. I will need to do the opposite. 650 minus 282. 650 minus 282, you can put that into your calculator and you get 368. And to be sure, make sure you check. So, does 282 plus 368 give you 650? So, plus 282, yes, it gives me 650. I've done it correctly. Okay. It says the International Commerce Center in Hong Kong is 484 meters tall. The Burj Khalifa building in Dubai is 346 meters taller than the International Commerce Center. Work out the height of Burj Khalifa building. Well, it's taller. That means I'm adding. So I've got 484 plus 346. And again, you do that with your calculator and you get 830 meters. This one says use your calculator to work out the value of, and it says write down all the figures on your calculator display. So this wants you to put the calculation correctly. 24.3 minus 16.8 over 0.18. And then you have to use the arrows, and you have to put the plus in the right place, and then square root 67.4. And you press equals. And they want you to write down all the figures on your calculator. 49.8764, 49.6784, I haven't finished yet. 1697, 1697. And then it says, write your answer to part A, correct to one significant figure. That's not a decimal place, it's the first important number. And the first important digit is the 4, because it's bigger than 0. And then the 9 will round up. So this will be a 5, and this has to be a 50. You don't round 49 to 5, you round it to a 50, and all these numbers, they're going to disappear because they're very small numbers. And again, this says simplify, and you've got different letters. This is a 3E and a minus E. Be careful of the signs. This is a plus 2F and a plus 5F. 3E minus E, remember E means 1, 2E. 2F plus 5F is 7F, and they're both positive, so when you write them down, there has to be a plus in the middle. And again, the second one says simplify, and I've got, they're all y squareds. So I simply get my calculator and I do 5 plus 6 minus 3, and it's 8y squared. You don't increase the powers or change the powers because you're not multiplying, you're adding and subtracting. And then this one has x's and y's, so 4x plus 5x and then I have got negative 3y and negative 2y. So 4x plus 5x minus 3y minus 2y. 4 plus 5 is 9, so this is 9x. And you would get your calculator for this one, and you would do minus 3 minus 2. No plus, no anything, just what you see, the numbers that you see, minus 3 minus 2. And this is minus 5y. 9x minus 5y. Here is a list of fractions. One fraction from the list, when written as a decimal, is not a terminating decimal. Not terminating. That means it's recurring. It keeps going on forever. Write down which fraction this is. I would get my calculator and I would put these fractions in and I would see what they equal. SD buttons. This is 0.8. And then I'd go to 3 divided by 8, SD 0.375. So obviously that's terminating because it stops. That's what terminating means. And then 2 divided by 3, SD, this calculator has a dash on top. Your calculator can also have a dot on top. But if you press the SD again, you can see this is going on forever. This is 0.6666 forever. This is definitely a recurring decimal. I'm going to do this for the rest of them as well. 12 divided by 15, that's 0.8. So that's a terminating decimal. And 7 divided by 10 is 0.7. So that's also terminating. So my recurring decimal, or my recurring fraction, is 2/3. And then it says two fractions from this list are equivalent. Equivalent means they are equal, they are the same. Well, you can see this is 0.8 and this is 0.8. So I've got 4/5 and 12/15. And then it says write 30 as a fraction of 48. Give your fraction in its simplest form. So this is 30 over 48. And I put it in my calculator, 30 over 48, and I get 5/8. Now, question 9 says expand, and we know that this means to multiply. 4 times 3 is 12, so it's 12g. 4 times 1 is 4, sorry, so it's plus 4. And then we have 2y times 3y and 2y times negative 7. 2 times 3 is 6. Y times y is y squared. And then 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. And of course, I'm also multiplying by the y. So negative 14y. And then the last question. I've got to multiply each bracket separately. This is a minus x, which means minus 1x. So I've got 6x squared plus 9x. 2 times 3 is 6, x times x is x squared. 3 times 3 is 9, and it's 3x times 3, 9x. And then I've got minus 1 times 3, so minus 3, x times x is x squared. And then minus 1x times 5 is minus 5x. And of course, this is an expand and simplify, so I need to find my like terms. 6x squared minus 3x squared are alike, and plus 9x minus 5x are also alike. 6x squared minus 3x squared, 6 minus 3 is 3, x squared doesn't change because I am not multiplying, I am subtracting. 9x minus 5x equals 4x. It's a positive. They're both positive. So my final answer is 3x squared plus 4x. And question 10 says, write brackets in this calculation so that the answer is correct to 60. So usually with BIDMAS, this is a BIDMAS question, the multiplication comes before addition. So usually you would just do that first. But let's check. If I do that first, that gives me a 10. So I've got 7 minus 10 plus 7, and that's definitely not 60. They are very small numbers. So I'm going to try and put my brackets somewhere else, over here. 7 minus 2 is 5, and then I'd have to do the multiplication first. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 7 is not going to give me 60. So why don't I try this? 5 plus 7 is 12. And let's see, if I do the multiplication first, which would be 2 times 12, that's 24. Well, that's not going to work. It says brackets, so I'm going to put 2 brackets. 7 minus 2 is 5. That's starting to look positive. 5 times 12 equals 30. Equals 60. So what you need to do is try a few things, and this, you can even try it with a calculator, to be honest. So if you want to put and try this, let's see, put that into my calculator. 7 minus 2 times 5 plus 7 doesn't give me 60. So again, you can try different positions for the brackets. And we found that we have to have 2 brackets. By writing each value correct to one significant figure, work out an estimate for the value of this fraction. So they've told you what to do to round to one significant figure. So 8.23 is 8. 181, well, the 8 rounds the 1 to a 2. It's basically closer to 200. This is the first significant figure, the 4, not the 0. The 8 rounds 1, so rounds up, so it's 0.5. So what you do is you show these 3 numbers. It says show your workings clearly. 8 times 200 divided by 0.5. And you'd get your calculator and you literally would do it. And you may want to put an extra fraction. So 8 times 200, you might want to put that separately. So I've rounded to one significant figure, and then I've put it in my calculator and I've got the final answer. You may want to do that. It's not necessary to get all the marks, because you get marks for rounding. Question 11 says the length of a fence is 137 meters, correct to the nearest meter, which means correct to the nearest 1. The lower bound, so write down the lower bound. So remember, 1 divided by 2 is 0.5. The lower bound is 137 minus 0.5, which is 136.5. And the upper bound is 137 plus 0.5, which is 137.5. And then this says write these numbers in order of size, starting with the smallest. The smallest is -11. And then we've got -9, -2, 3, and 5. And then it says write these decimals in order of size. So the decimal with the most digits have 3 digits, so I'm going to add a 0 to any, or 2 zeros to any decimal that doesn't. Again, starting with the smallest. That's a 72. And that's a 7. Okay, so the smallest is 0.007. And then 0.072. And then that's a 700, so 0.7. That's 703, so 0.703. And that's 720, 0.72. So this is in order of size from the smallest. I add my zeros and then I focus on the number, the digits after the decimal. And this question says, given that w to the power of 5 times w to the power of n divided by w to the power of 3 equals w to the power of 10, work out the value of n. So remember, at the top, I'm going to write it slightly differently. So at the top here, this can become an equation. 5 plus n, because I'm multiplying, so I'm adding these two powers. And then I'm dividing here, so I'm subtracting, and it equals 10. So I have an equation, 5 plus n minus 3 equals 10. So I need to do the opposite of these numbers. Minus 3, the opposite of that is plus 3. So I now have 5 plus n equals 13. Well, 5 is a positive number, so I'm going to take it away. Minus 5, and I now have what the value of n is. N equals 8, because of 13 minus 5 gives me 8. And I would put the 8 here. N equals 8. And that is the end of the test.